Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Storytelling Chronicles. Today, I have a great guest joining us, Mr. John Brewer, Director of Distribution at CKE Restaurants, Inc. Let's go. Let's do this.
Life, lessons, logistics. Let's go.
Hello again, everybody. The Bodacious Cowboy here on the Storytelling Chronicles. Welcome. Today's guest is Mr. John Brewer. Let's bring him in. Hey, John.
Hi,
Hey,
Jeff. How are you?
I am doing fine. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a while since we chatted, so it's good to catch back up.
Oh, absolutely. And you saw how I build this, right? Shippers. What the heck do they know and why? So, John, man, first of all, for those who don't know John, tell everybody who John is.
Okay, John Brewer. Obviously, I handle the domestic distribution and logistics for CKE restaurants. We own both the Hardee's and the Carl's Jr. brand. We ship to about 3,000 restaurants coast to coast every week. And I coordinate with 19 third-party DCs coast to coast to get our products delivered so that we can take care of our customers.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And let me ask you, how long have you been doing this in the food business?
I've been in the industry a little over 30 years.
Wow. Okay, so you got a little bit of knowledge behind you, to say the least. But you know something, John? We're in a bear market, and I'm not preaching to something new to you. I know you know it. There's a lot of hungry people out there, a lot of brokers and carriers that are looking to fill their pipelines. They're making a tremendous amount of calls just to do exactly that. What are they doing wrong? And how can they do a lot better at their job in order to grab your attention as a shipper?
You're exactly right, Jeff. This market is a challenge, and it's I've preached this to the rooftops before. To me, it's relational. You got to build that relationship. You got to build that trust. Because I'm not going to give my shipments to somebody I don't trust. Now the challenge becomes it takes a little bit longer to build those relationships over time, and a bear market may not be as forgiving as a bull market would be.
Right.
But I guarantee you, even if you take some percentage of your day and start using that to cultivate long-term relationships, when the market does flip, and you and I both know how cyclical this market can be, once it does flip, then those are going to be paying off for you in spades. So I'm big on relationships. What happens is the people get frantic, to your point,
Mm-hmm.
and just start dialing for dollars, or they start what I call the infamous pitch slap. I get my share of those every week. They're not really doing their homework either. They're not trying to cultivate a relationship. You can go online, you can learn about me, you can learn about my company. It's so much easier than it was way back when you and I first started in this to find out information on somebody. And it's just like, to me, you're interviewing for a job. You're interviewing for the job of hauling my freight. Now, if you go on a regular job interview, you're going to research the company. You're going to try to figure out how this position or this role would fit into their grand, bigger structure, and then how you're the best person, how you're going to tell them you're the best person for that position. And that's the same way here. You want to grow that relationship. You want to research. I'll tell you right now, a little side humor of mine is when I do get pitch slapped, I ask them a question, and I ask them the question I've been asking as of late is, tell me something about my company that I don't know. And I get all kinds of responses. So, but it's basically human behavior, because if you're faithful in the little things, you'll be faithful in the big ones. And I got to know I can trust you and I can count on you in the big ones, because this business has a lot of big ones.
Right.
So if you go and research that question, and I've had people thoroughly research it, I've gotten 3-4 paragraphs worth of information back. Most of it I knew, but nevertheless, they did their homework, they put in effort, They followed through. They didn't try to BS me in the comments. They're being, they're committed. They're wanting to do the work. Even just something as simple as a question like that starts to really show you, their human nature. And that's ultimately, if you can trust them, you got to be able to know that, hey, the words are matching the actions. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
The other piece of it is, and I've been preaching this. This is an interesting perspective I came up on a few years ago. So when guys like me and you have been in the industry as long as we have, we're not necessarily experts, but the
No.
companies who hire us are looking for our expertise. And you don't want your leadership second guessing your abilities.
Right.
So you don't want to bring in doubt. Okay. Even if you know your stuff, even, obviously you don't know everything, but you
No.
know enough. I mean, after 30 years, if you can't ship a truck, you got problems, right?
Right.
So you don't want your leadership second guessing you because they're looking for an ROI and they want to put a guy or a gal in that position who's going to take care of that role and protect the company. Well, if I go out and I hire a fly by night carrier or fly by night broker and I don't have a relationship with them and they go MIA on my shipment more than once, twice, three, four, five times, what do you think leadership is thinking in the back of their mind?
Right.
They're
You're
thinking,
competent.
hey, Brewer doesn't know how to pick the horses. So we don't let Brewer pick the horses anymore. So in addition to everything I just mentioned,
Right.
your reputation as a professional in this industry is riding on your choices and riding on your
Yeah,
your
too.
your effectiveness and how to take care of your company, protect your company, and also take care of your customers. All that's riding on, they call it brand now, we call it reputation. Same
Right.
thing.
Simple.
And basically when you go into a room with your leadership and you tell them, hey, this is coming down the pipe and we need to do XYZ to mitigate it, I don't want them second guessing me because I'm doing what I think is the best thing for the company. It's not something I haven't thought about. It's not something I haven't researched. It's something that I think will help us be protected from liability or move us strategically past the competition or anything like that. And I really want to make sure I've got their ear that I'm speaking as one who's in authority in that subject, which
Right.
after you've been in it 30 years, you should be an authority in the subject. Still can learn. I learn from people all the time, but they hired you for a reason. They didn't hire you to just come in and look good, So lucky for you, I don't fit that bill.
That's really funny and preach, my friend. I mean, it's like you got inside my head on that. You can't fake it to make it. That's for damn sure. And the wise people out there will be able to pick up on that very quickly, very quickly. And when you talk about knowledge and gaining all those skills that are necessary to convince or educate a new prospect, it's all about doing that homework, John. Like you said, it's about knowing the individual who you're calling, their company, what they do, how they do it, when they do it, why they do it, all those kind of things that you want to bring to the forefront very quickly. It's not about how fast can I bring them on board, how many shipments can I get, at what cost. It's not about that. And for sure, you're not going to start moving shipments for a new prospect on day one. It doesn't happen that way. It takes many months. Sometimes it could take a year, but it's that persistence and getting to understand, like you said, relationships. It's all about collaboration, my friend, right? All about that.
Absolutely.
It's about understanding how you work, your service provider works, and the kind of relationships that he has with his carriers, because that individual is representing you. And when you bring in those carriers also have your products on it. So if something goes bad, your name brand goes bad with it. So
Exactly.
you really have to be, in touch with everything that's going on. And you talk about being the authoritative person in the room. Yeah, I mean, when you have a large company that you're doing business with, you want to try to get that seat at the board table, as I call them, mahogany row. and get yourself ingrained in that operations, not just on the logistics, but the back room on the freight payment side, the CEO side, the sales side, because all of those key stakeholders have a direct impact on how successful you're going to do it. Whether it's on ramp up, new product lines being launched, how you communicating and telling your service providers what's coming down the pike without that surprise, being totally transparent, on both sides, not just on one side. And you know how that works. When you hide, you're going to fail pretty much, because if you're not being transparent and saying exactly what happened and why it happened and kind of like bullshit your way through it, you're done. You're toast. And then your reputation's going to be out the window as fast as, the wind blows, sort of speaking. So you really do have to do your homework and understand the logistics mechanisms of the vertical that you're trying to infiltrate. And if you don't understand that and you don't ask the right proper questions, you're not going to have a chance in hell. It's like, I don't like the food business. So, John, sorry, you're not going to hear from me because that's not my forte. That's not my niche. If it's dry, sure. But there's a lot of brokers out there that dabble in things that they shouldn't dabble in because they're just reaching out. Who can I get in my pipeline? It's a failed situation there. So, what's that?
I said exactly. I'm with you 100%.
Right. So the thing is that if you're going to call up John, you want to know about his business, you better know about the food industry and how it works and how demanding it is, like Wakefield and the CS wholesales out there and all that, and how long you wait in line to try to get emptied, and the delays in getting loaded and unloaded. I mean, those things happen, and you have to be willing to take that on. They've always worked that way. They're never going to change in the last 10, 15 years that I've dabbled in it. I hate it. I don't like doing it. I understand it. But those are the kind of things that you have to learn and understand. It's not just about CKE distribution, but it's also their vendors and who they deliver to and how they operate. It's not just one particular shipping location. It's on the receiving side too, because like I said, it all has to intertwine. Someplace, somewhere, it's going to happen. And if you don't understand that relationship that maybe you faked it to make it is going to go down the shitter real quick.
Yep. I always say that logistics touches everything and everything touches logistics. So you need to have an understanding of those relationships and how they work with each other. And to be honest, and this is going to be my humble opinion. This is coming straight from John. If you're not an educated shipper, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing the organization you work for a disservice. So, I mean, I'm out there checking the industry. I take a look at the Morgan Stanley. I take a look at other reports that, some of my brokers and carriers provide me. Freight Waves is another good source of data. You guys with Dan Deegan and you guys bring some good stuff, good meat to the table too. There's tons of podcasts out there. You can just subscribe and pick up on all kinds of things you never even thought you knew or thought you needed to know. But you need to be educated. And the cool thing about, if you understand your business partner, be it a carrier, be it a broker, be whatever, if you understand kind of their pain points and kind of the things that, kind of the cake stuff and the not so cake stuff. And if you understand that and you can have those types of conversations, frank conversations, you can, you can make a relationship work and you can make a partnership work. One of the things I've always told people as a trans manager, back when I was going through, it's called traffic, as a trans manager, a logistics manager, and now they call them supply chain managers. It's my job. Part of my job is to bring on carriers, asset and broker, and patchwork my supply chain, putting each one in the niche where they best succeed and making my supply chain work. It's a big puzzle, right? It's just like a patchwork quilt. You use your bigger carriers and your bigger brokers for, your heavier volumes. You use your asset-based players for consistent business that happens every week so that they can get a lane and get a backhaul. I mean, none of this is rocket science, but it's your job as a shipper to partner with those people to make your supply chain work and putting them in their best, making them as successful as you possibly can, because that's only going to benefit you in the back end. Because if they screw up, that means you got to go fix it.
Oh, yeah.
So I just assume not to have them screw up.
Right. Right. And the thing is, a good logistics or procurement manager are going to know those niche carriers that go into those niche geographical areas like the Upper Peninsula in Michigan.
Right.
Nobody really likes to go there. And then when you have a carrier rep that comes in and go, you know what, John, listen, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to compliment the account and I'm going to take that on. We'll handle it for you. And lo and behold, their what do you call it? Their profit measurement, what's that called? The operating ratio is 114 to move it there. 114 to complement the account. You're losing money. They're losing money on the account. It's making you look pretty bad. A good logistics manager, procurement manager is going to go, hey, Mr. Carrier, listen, no worries about that. I'll find a niche carrier that will go up into the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, and I'll get that handled. And most likely they'll be able to handle it at maybe an OR of 90, And so it helps them out. It's a two-way street. They may, honestly be trying to help you out, but they don't really realize it because they're trying to fill their bucket with their pipeline with new revenue, which really isn't revenue because they're losing their shirt on it. Same thing happens with brokers when they take on stuff that they shouldn't even dabble in because they don't have any rebound on it. They can't help them to get out there. They get buried in those carriers that say, sure, we'll take it. And they're going to drop off the account once they see how volatile it is, and that, we have trouble getting out. We have to deadhead for 400 miles before we get something. I mean, it's all those kind of things. So you really have to, it's really important, John, for shippers to do their homework on the service providers that they bring in.
Absolutely.
Do they have the background? Do they have the knowledge? Do they have the experience that's going to help me be a better logistics manager to make me look like the cherry on top of that cake in the front of the CEO, the CFO, and the president of the company who I represent? Exactly. That's the biggest thing. And the other thing is with the logistics managers and traffic managers, a lot of them feel threatened. They feel threatened because they feel that a service provider that comes in is trying to take their job, which isn't necessarily the case. It's trying to help them out where they're lacking, because like you said, nobody's an expert out there, John. And there's some areas that they're not an expert in, sort of speaking, that need help, but they have to realize that, and that's the biggest thing. That's why when I say logistics operations are more important than a cost or having the capacity, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Right. And I mean, it's exactly like you said. I mean, it's a partnership, and we were talking earlier on about trust. And if you can't trust your carrier or your broker, or you can't trust your shipper for the other side of that coin, then that relationship's going to be rocky at best. So you've got enough, you got enough laying awake at night worried about. The last thing you need to be worried about is your carrier selection or your broker selection, or even, like I said, on the flip side, your shipper selection. You need to be able to control the things you can control, and then you work on the ones you can't, because you just can't do it. You just have to stop and deal with them. But you put to bed everything and building that relationship and building that trust, knowing that you got another partner on the other side of that table. It speaks volumes. I mean, it's probably about the most peace you will ever feel in this industry, if that's even possible.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you can tell, you can learn a lot with not even being there if you're good at what you do. It's in an email, or it's in a tender, or any other thing out there that you get. you can see the problems within those documents and emails that are being written, that you know that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than what you see. But there's a lot of a lot of brokers out there that don't recognize that or see that, which is a relationship killer, because it's killing them and they're not helping the shipper who brought them in to do something. I don't know about your feelings on that, but what are your thoughts about, being able to see through, you know, the trees to see what's in that forest, so to speaking?
Yeah, it's I think both parties, all parties involved, need to be transparent with each other. Um, I think they need, if you made a mistake, and there's so many people, there's so many touches in this industry, it boggles my mind how a shipment can get from point A to point B with all the touches and stuff. It's almost phenomenally impossible.
Right.
Um, but you're going to make mistakes, and shippers are going to make mistakes, and you need to be able to come to the table and say, hey, this is what we did. This is what we're doing. This is where it's screwed up. We've notified all the proper people, and this is what we're doing to fix it. And I'll let you know when it's done.
Yeah.
And, it's easy for shippers to throw brokers and carriers under the bus. And I've been on the shipping side all but 1 year of my career. And I can tell you, shippers screw up more stuff than any carrier, any broker I've ever worked with.
Absolutely.
And I'm I'm just being transparent with you. I know I've made mistakes. I know I messed up carriers and brokers, and I made it right with them.
Right. Because you learned, John. That's the whole thing. It's you may not have recognized it at that time, but after the fact, it was that aha moment. Oh, that's never going to happen again. And then you put that work instruction or process improvement in there, and that issue goes away.
It gets to the point that the relationship is more important than the mistake. And you don't sacrifice a relationship over a mistake.
Right.
Period.
Yep.
So
yeah.
If I want to, if I screwed over broker ABC doing some stupid shipper shit or whatever the hell I was doing, I'm going to go back to broker, and I'm going to make it up to him, because I want to keep the relationship. There's too much energy, time, and effort put into that relationship. It's mutually beneficial. It's long term, and you understand each other. I'm not going to throw it away just because I made a mistake or they made a mistake. I'm just not going to do it. It's not worth it.
It's costly. It's costly to replace a carrier and to find a new one than it is to keep the existing one on and trying to work through those obstacles and barriers that happen to come up. Because listen, we work in logistics. Anything is possible. What happens today, that's fantastic. And I mean, everything's working fine for me. I could get a call right now and saying, got a truck broke down in Oklahoma, and you've got must arrive by date. And now you've got to hustle to get that recovery to make things happen, because it happens. There's things that are exceptions to the rule, and then there's non-negotiable ones that happen. And, those are like the act of gods, the things that you talked about, John, about control the controllables, let everything else go by the wayside, that you really don't have those controls, because those are the meaningless things. Those are the things that really don't matter. It's the controllable things that do matter, that help you move the peanut forward.
Exactly. 100%.
I'll tell you what. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, it's like I had a hectic week, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I had a truck burned to the ground, but the trailer didn't catch fire, believe it or not. I had another one that had a crash, all on demand, needed to be there, whatever, and had to recover, but it's those things that if that wasn't my niche, and that I never did that before, I have a trouble on recovery. I would be up Schitt's Creek going, oh no, because, and the saying, you're only as good as the last shipment you handled. You could have 1 billion data boys, and the only one they're going to remember is the one that you screwed up. That's it. Period. End of discussion. So the first shipment is always the first shipment. It's never the last shipment. It doesn't matter in what order or how many you've done. You always got to treat that as number one every day that you do business with that customer. You got to treat it as your first, and all that effort you put into it for the remainder of the relationship.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing I was just thinking about while we were talking, because you and I we kind of feed off of each other a little bit on the thought process, and
Absolutely.
definitely got enough history between us. We could probably talk for a few months at least. Is don't let my customer call me and tell me you're late.
No,
Don't,
no.
don't ever do that. So if you're late, you're late. You call me. You tell me you're late. And I had a guy who he was the GM for our Sacramento DC out here, and so he's like 2 hours behind me, right? Because I'm on Central.
Yep.
And every morning when I'm walking through the front door of the office, he's calling me up if he's got a problem. Hey man, this happened. I got it taken care of. Just in case you hear from your franchisees, it's handled. I just wanted you to know first. So he's up at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning checking on my stuff, and he's calling me, telling me what went wrong, and he's already reached out to the franchisee. He's already got the plan in action. He's going to take care of the customer. The only reason he's telling me is he doesn't want me to get blindsided by my leadership or by the franchisee. Now, 9 times out of 10, I never heard a peep about anything he told me from anybody else. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But I walked through every morning. I came through that front door of that office. I was the one who had all the information. So I was borderline invincible, at least as far as that problem is concerned, because I already knew what happened and I already knew there was a solution. And whoever came to me, I can tell them. Yeah. So that's something I do for my bosses. I don't want my bosses to get blindsided either. So if something comes up and I think it's got some volatility to it, guess what? I'm in my boss's office or I'm on the phone and I'm saying, here, this, and this is going on. I said, it may not bubble up to you, but if it does, you know about it and you can answer it. Right. And you just, I treat my bosses and my employees like I want to be treated. I don't like getting blindsided. I don't like it at all.
Oh, no. And there you have it, folks. Take that as a golden nugget. Don't ever, if you're a service provider, don't let your customer find out before you do. Never, ever, ever. You got to drill it into your vendors, your carriers, whomever you're doing business with, that if something happens on the road, you want to know about it ASAP. You don't want to wait until tomorrow morning when that shipment is late and you happen to say, hey, Jeff, hey, John, listen, buddy, always a buddy. Right?
Yeah.
Our truck broke down. Oh, when did it break down? Oh, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. It broke down at 8 o'clock last night. And, the driver thought it would be a great idea to sleep and catch some stuff. No, absolutely not. If something happens there, you need to ingrain that into your carriers, into your corral,
exactly.
The way that you operate. Period. End of discussion. There should not be a hesitation on that at all. And it's all about the recovery. How fast can you recover when something goes down? Because John doesn't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. The only thing they're looking at is the end result. Is it or is it not going to get there on time? And is there a reasonable reason as to why that will not happen? Exactly. Avalanche, okay, that's fine. That's an act of God. I understand. When do you think again? It's going to be 2-day delay. Got it. They got to plow the freaking road. Blah, blah, blah. Those are the kind of things that are acceptable. But I used to drill down to power units, John, when you had a turbo blow on it, and then it caused lateness. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, the turbo goes again. I drilled into the PMs on that unit. I used to drill into all that and saying, well, if this was fixed 2 weeks ago, why did it need to be replaced 2 weeks later? Because you guys never fixed it. There's so many different things that you have to be aware of as a service provider if you want to drill down into the weeds to find out the real reasons of why you couldn't service your customer the way that they wanted to be serviced and what you guaranteed them when you brought them on board. You got to think about all these things. And I always mention, John, you've heard me say it before, always look at the what if scenarios. Prepare yourself for the worst case scenario. So when it does, and there's a high probability in logistics, it will happen, that you'll have an answer and a resolution for that problem when it happens to pop up. If you don't have that and you don't look at it and you're unprepared, you're going to lose that customer big time, because they only will accept it so many times, maybe once or twice.
Right.
After that, you're done. Toast.
Right. Yeah, you're everybody has a bad day, everybody has a bad week. I look for behaviors. I look for trends. So if you drop the ball on one load, I'm probably going to say, okay, well, get it cleaned up and hurry up and get it delivered, and I'll call the customer. But you drop 9 out of 10 loads, we're going to have a completely different conversation.
Right. Oh yeah.
And you're probably not going to like it.
Yeah.
So that's
not gonna like it. No, you're not gonna like it.
That's it's interesting. Even here, say something happens, say a truck breaks down, or a load, inbound load didn't get into the DC in time, and I've got people who are non-logistics, non-distribution people, and they say, oh well, so and so must not like us. That's the reason why they dropped the ball. And I'm like, dude, there's no utopia here. It's nothing personal. It's nothing emotional. It's just, it happens. If you put too many cooks in the kitchen, the stew is eventually going to get burned every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's just fact of nature.
Yep.
So, and then I usually tell them, if everybody did everything they were supposed to, when they were supposed to, how they were supposed to, I would be unemployed, because you wouldn't need a guy like me. You wouldn't need a guy to troubleshoot this stuff and fix it and make it happen, or build something that's doesn't exist and build a supply chain from the ground. You wouldn't need me for that. It'd already be done.
Right.
But that is not the case out here in this industry, as you well know,
yeah.
And I know. So therefore, I think I'm good until at least retirement.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever retire there, John. It's funny that you bring that up, because to me, I don't have a job. It's more of a daily adventure than anything else, because every day it changes. You never know what you're going to get broadsided with, and that's what keeps you up. That's what keeps you going and stuff like that. You never take things to heart in logistics. If you do, it's going to eat you up. It's going to eat you up.
It'll chew you up and spit you out. Oh, absolutely.
It's going to chew you up and spit you out as fast as I mean, as the speed of sound, man. That's how fast it is. And so you have to, like you say, you have to have thick skin in this industry. And if you don't have that thick skin, you'll never make it. I'm in over 40 years, and I'll tell you, I had some tough times, man. I had some tough times, but I'm blessed with the bosses that I had and what they taught me. And it was nasty, John. It was freaking nasty, where there was times where I was ready to walk away, and I was like, no, I really, really do love this industry and what it's done for me. And it made me who I am today. Without those true leaders that, showed me where the water was, but they didn't show me how to drink it. That was up to me to decide how I was going to get it. I saw it, but I had to figure out the way to get to it in order to drink and drink well, if that makes any sense.
Exactly. No, it makes perfect sense. I was lucky enough. I had two mentors in my life. Extremely lucky, because I didn't go to school for traffic. We didn't have traffic classes back then. And then, so one of the things that I've been doing is the younger generations that are coming into this market, be it in sales, be it in ops, be it in whatever, is spending time with those people. And I've got a broker down in Memphis. He's had 2 really young sales training classes. I gave him an hour each, and I just, ask the shipper anything you want. I'll answer your questions. You get to talk to a real life shipper, and it's not, it's not a mom and pop. It's some guy that's been pretty established,
Right.
And he's not going to laugh at you, and he's not going to poke fun at you. And you can ask him anything you want.
Right.
And there's no, you're not going to lose the account, because there's technically not an account.
Right.
But but you can have a straight up conversation and see, talk to the person on the other side of the desk
Right.
and learn from them. And that may help you when you go out and start selling to your customers.
Absolutely.
It is getting an understanding. Plus, I learned stuff from these kids, man. These kids are sharp.
They
I mean,
are.
when I was their age, the only thing I knew about trucking is they went up and down the street. That's all I knew. And so I had to learn, the school of hard knocks, if you will. And but these kids, I mean, they are just to listen to them. I mean, I think I posted something on LinkedIn the other day that I learned from as much from the young people as they do from me.
Yes.
And it's reciprocal, and we're almost like a family. We watch out for each other and we try to take care of each other, and you have those people who are willing to mentor you, and you're willing, and they pass it on to you, and you pass it on to somebody else, and hopefully that keeps going.
Yep.
And that's the way this industry's always been. I mean, all my learning was OJT, and I had people in my life that they didn't have to show me anything or tell me anything. They did it out of their heart. They did it out of the passion for the industry to keep the industry alive. And that's probably one of the major reasons why I'm still here. Cause I'm like you, I've had some really hard rows to hoe. And, but I mean, I'm in it for the long haul. And like you, I probably won't retire, but I'm thinking of maybe a trading post in the Caribbean somewhere, still doing distribution and logistics,
Yep.
but it's daiquiri mix and Coronas.
I know I'm laughing my ass off on this because that's what I told my wife. She goes, "When are you going to retire?" I says, "The time that I retire, I'm sitting on a beach with my laptop with cocktails, just watching everything go and flow, man." That's
exactly 100%.
That's it. And something, to get back to what you were saying about helping the kids out there, I'm just like you because I put myself in their position at that age and being wet behind the ears. And I don't take that literally and try to make fun out of anybody because I know how I felt. I know exactly how I felt. And the people and the mentors and the coaches and the disciplinarians out there that put me in my place, I needed it. That's for damn sure. And that's what I try to do. It's pay it forward. Pay it forward. I don't know everything, but if I could help you just to move that, move you a little bit further than where you are, I'll be more than happy to do that. I think that's my legacy. That's your legacy. That's right. What we want to try to do to help the industry to move forward and make them understand that, it's so complex. Like I said before, control the controllables. Don't let it get to your heart. Just smile a lot. Be thankful for what you're doing. Don't get too emotional and listen. Listen before you talk, because
absolutely
you can't move forward without having a good ear and an understanding. What was his name? Stephen Covey. Chapter 6, seek to understand before being understood. That's what it's about, man. You need to understand first by listening to what's being said and then saying what needs to be said after you understand it. That's the whole thing.
Absolutely 100%.
So what do you have coming up in the future, John? What's going on? What kind of events? I know you've got the your traffic association that you're still involved with. What's happening there?
NTC, Nashville Transportation Club. We're having a Top Golf event come up here. I think it's in October. We're going to be putting out a calendar, finishing out the rest of the year, getting ready to prep for next year. We got some happy hours, and then we're going to close out this year. And then next year, big things coming. We've got, I know we've got a regular golf. We got another Top Golf. We're probably going to go and participate in some of the local job fairs here with the universities and colleges.
Oh, nice!
Just to network with the students and opening up some mentoring opportunities if possible. Just a lot of good things going on. There's, I was on the board in Memphis for I think about 15 years.
Oh, nice!
And it's completely night and day. There's a hunger and a thirst in this city for this type of stuff. You typically our happy hours, we're running 50, 60 people.
Okay.
It's a very, I like it as a shipper because it's a non-salesy type atmosphere. The club buys the apps, you buy your own cocktails, and everybody just gets to build relationships and learn who everybody is. And I don't feel like I'm on a used car sales lot. So if I'm comfortable, any shipper there should be comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not. We're all. It's any penny, any dollar over cost goes straight to scholarships.
Oh,
We partnered with Lipscomb University here in Middle Tennessee. They've got a fairly new supply chain program, so we're able to help those students out and give some really big scholarships out. So
nice.
that's the main. We did the same thing in Memphis at a smaller scale, but that's the reason why I joined up with these organizations. This is my way of giving back to an industry that's taking care of me and my family. And I want to make sure it takes care of the future generations as well. So I'm putting in that servant leadership and getting out there and volunteer. I don't play golf because honestly I suck. So
That's transparency.
but I can drink beer and I can volunteer. You know what I'm saying?
Drink beer.
So I volunteer at these events. I'll be volunteering at Top Golf, just walking around, making sure everybody's having a good time, talking to people and listening to them and see, what they think. And I really enjoy doing it. That's part of the job that I like, or it's not real to me. It's not really a job.
Right.
It's being part of an industry and paying that forward again. You'll hear the same themes come out of my mouth in various different dynamics. I'm kind of a broken record that way. Anything I try to do it to help others. Yeah. And I think that's why I really, outside of the relational side of it, which I really, really like, but you're helping people.
Yeah.
You're not a first responder or you're not military or anything like that, but you're still helping people, and it starts right down at the truck driver level. I mean, how many times you go down the road and you see a truck driver changing a flat for a motor somewhere because they're stranded.
Sure.
And pretty much just giving them the shirt off their back, and it bubbles up from there. And you get the National Transportation Club, you get partnering with universities and trying to help the students. You do the mock sales calls and try to get the kids better. My part of my legacy, like you, is if I can help somebody be more successful at what they're doing, then that's what I want to do.
Absolutely.
If I can do that, then the next morning when I get up and stare at this grizzled mug in the mirror, I can say, okay, I'm all right. I did good.
That's it.
So I'm huge on servant leadership. Huge.
That's awesome, John. That's great that you're giving back and helping out the universities and the kids that are getting into the business, because that's just so important. It's more that, yeah, sure, it's a legacy, but it's that help that is greatly needed. A lot of these older folks like you and I, but we're not retiring anytime too soon, are leaving the industry, and they don't have that experience that's there, that's seen it. And the old term, if you're not careful, history will indeed repeat itself.
Yep.
And the thing is with that is that's what you want to try to help them to avoid, because we've seen a lot of things, and a lot of things that they may not take into consideration may come to fruition. And that's what we're here for, to make them aware that, maybe you never thought of this, but think about this and how are you going to respond to it. So
exactly. And I mean, to your point, you can lose that tribal knowledge.
Yeah.
And these, once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone.
And me and you have probably eaten, slept, and drank more logistics than any normal person would. So there's a lot of tribal knowledge rolling around up there. And unfortunately, I can speak for myself on this. Mine's mostly due to experience and not so much wisdom. So experience is getting hit upside the head with a 2x4. Wisdom is ducking. And so I want these kids to, when I tell you to duck, you duck.
Duck.
Because I don't want you to have to experience getting hit upside the head with a 2x4. It's not. It doesn't feel good. It's really painful.
It thanks.
So
It hurts. It hurts. It hurts bad. And I'll tell you that my wife usually hits me with that 2x4 because she's like, "Will you stop already? I've been listening to this shit for the last 40 years." Because that's I always bring it up every single day. I mean, it's in my vocabulary. It's in my blood. I bleed this stuff. And it's not, I don't mean to do it. I'm just so used to it. That makes sense. I mean,
once you get it in your once you get it in your blood, you'll never get it out.
No, it's just not.
It's always there.
Well, my friend, I appreciate you spending almost an hour now with me. A lot of great things we talked about. I'd love to have you back at a future date to talk about more things, because I'm sure that you and I can agree that we have many different things that we need to talk about, that we can't do it in one day. That's for sure.
Yeah. We probably got some stories to make the hair on your back of your neck stand up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I got just a thing, just to promote. This October, the 12th and 13th in Tampa, Florida, we have the Broker Carrier Summit. I will be there as a speaker, talking to brokers and carriers from the shipper side of the business to try to help them, educate them, what John and I were talking about right now, what you should be aware of, and how to build those specific relationships by that magical word called collaboration. If you happen to look into the dictionary right now, you might see John Brewer's name or my name underneath it, because we kind of invented it and we've been doing it for the last 30, 40 years. So it's not a new word. It's been out there, but it hasn't been frequently used. But it is probably one of the most important words to use in this industry today, especially in this market being a bear one. And it's the only way that you're going to get through to put yourself in position A for next year when this market turns. So start building relationships with everybody now, those key stakeholders, so that you'll be set up to where you need to be in 2024. So with that said, John, thanks, my friend. Everybody out there, have a good.
Appreciate you having me.
You got it.
Have a good one. See ya.
We'll see you next week. Take care now.
Have it.
Another logistics life and lesson learned. Until next time.